Corner Table. It's our exclusive theater review segment featuring legendary critic John Simon and Justin Brown. Simon, he wrote for the New York Magazine for more than 35 years. He's also been featured in the New York Times, Washington Post, among many others. Justin, he's an actor and director who also reviews shows. Well, tonight they're looking at Spongebob Squarepants, the latest animated TV show that has become a musical.
Hey Corner Table friends, and hey John.
Hi.
So today we're reviewing SpongeBob the Musical. I'm going to refer to my playbill because there are so many collaborators in this piece, but some of the highlights are Tina Landau is the director, Tom Kitt was the music supervisor, and it was a piece that was created in collaboration in terms of the score from a variety of different pop influences and artists, from Panic at the Disco to Cyndi Lauper to Sarah Bareilles to Aerosmith, Yolanda Adams. It's crazy the way that this show was put together. The book was written by Kyle Jarrow, and the kind of anchor piece character, being SpongeBob, is Ethan Slater, who does a really wonderful job of capturing the sponge. I think, John, that this is the first show that I know a little more about the history of the show than you do.
And I'm perfectly happy to leave it to you.
What was your initial impression of SpongeBob the Musical?
I pretty much hated everything about it. I think there was some good acting, there was some decent directing, there was certainly some fancy costuming and good projections, a lot of good things about the production. But the basic thing, to my mind, is terrible. It's terrible because it's an adult show which kiddies can't understand, and it's also a kiddie show which adults cannot put up with. So you have a kind of falling between two chairs that goes on throughout, and that really doesn't make sense in a show, because in a show you want cohesion, you don't want falling apart. So, and it has no charm. That's the big thing. I think charm in a musical is everything. It's hard to define, but some people and some things have it, and others, like SpongeBob, absolutely lack it.
See, and I actually completely disagree. I think it has a lot of charm. I think it has a lot of charisma. I think that the cast as a whole is incredibly talented in their ability to capture these more or less iconic characters that people have grown up with or are still experiencing today. But what I will say is SpongeBob the Musical does have a way of alienating a certain audience.
Oh, yes.
And I think that that's the paradox that you're talking about. Because I don't really think it's like an adult play that can also be child appropriate. I find more of a sense of trying to honor the original material, which why anyone would make a musical out of SpongeBob is beyond me, but that's not the point.
That is the point.
But I disagree. I think that truly you can make a musical about anything. We've seen it happen. But what's really keen in Tina Landau's construction, creating this collaborative piece and using so much of your imagination throughout the piece, throughout the construction of the piece, the costume and scenic design by David Zinn, I think is really, really brilliant and entertaining. I mean, I brought my niece to see the show. And so for me, a lot of the important things when seeing a show like SpongeBob, it's not for me. It's for a kid. And she was entertained. And I think that the things that would have entertained me and that I found impressive were technical elements of the show that I was really, really taken with.
Well, yes, for example, the costumes are elaborate and frequent and well imagined. But on the whole, you know, it doesn't convey anything. There are a few things that really look like fish, which is it's supposed to be because it's undersea. And then there are other things that don't, and I don't just mean the squirrel, there are other things that don't look at all like fish and that they don't make any attempt to make look like fish.
But don't you feel like if they were to make obvious ploys and pokes at them being fish, it would feel very tongue-in-cheek and not as experimental or creative?
But I mean, in a fairy tale, which I guess this is, a dragon looks like a dragon, a witch looks like a witch, but here nobody looks like what he or she is supposed to look like.
Right, but then that's what your imagination's for.
Oh my God, my imagination wants to avoid things like this.
Well, ultimately, John is feeling like SpongeBob wasn't up his alley. But I think that if you grew up with SpongeBob and you know SpongeBob, or you have a small child that you're trying to keep entertained for 3 hours, it's so much fun, and I think it's really delightful. So that's our thoughts on SpongeBob.
And coming up next, a look at the Winter Olympics. A whole lot of storylines, and many of them have nothing to do with the events.